Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa, I read, and welcome to another video. And today I'm starting a reading vlog where I create a TBR jar, and I'm going to pick some selections from it. So this TBR jar is specifically for sequels. I was trying to figure out a way to get through my sequels and make a fun video. So this was the thing that I could think of that would work well. So I guess it's going to be a beginning of a little series where I work through the sequels that I need to get to. I'm going to create the TBR jar. While I do so, I'm going to go through the sequels that I need to get to that are part of my TBR, and I have quite a bit of sequels that I need to get to. And so let's just get on with the video. So the first series that I need to get to is the Hades and Persephone series by Scarlett Sinclair. I read this on a whim, like during my birthday time. I didn't even film it, I just read it. Or maybe I did film it, I don't remember. But anyways, I kind of fell in love with the book. I absolutely loved it, and I picked up the sequel, and that was a lot of fun too. So I do want to just finish the series. The third one is A Touch of Malice, so I need to get to that. I am also in the middle of the Flame in the Mist series by Renee Attier. I read book 1 and loved it, so book 2 is Smoke in the Sun, and this is a YA fantasy series, and I'm curious to see where that story takes us. I also started the Vincent series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is my first chance with her, and I'm so excited to continue with anything else she writes. This is not really a mafia romance series, but it kind of has a lot of those vibes. It's definitely a lot darker than your typical contemporary. The family's basically a billionaire family, but they're willing to do things in order to protect their family, things like that. Each book follows a different brother with his family, and there's a bit of a mystery in each one. And so I read book 1 and I think I gave it 5 stars. I really loved it. So I need to move on to Moonlight Seduction, and the third one is Moonlight Scandal, so I can't wait to continue with that. I would like to read the Darkest Powers Tales, which is like a short story collection from the Darkest Powers series. I'm going to really love Kelly Armstrong, and so that trilogy was a lot of fun. It kind of reminded me of Mara Dyer a little bit, and it's a paranormal romance with a grumpy hero and sunshiny heroine, and it is young adult, but I really loved it. It was a lot of fun. There are some short stories that I need to read in the Grishaverse, so I need to get to the Lives of Saints series by Leigh Bardugo. There's also another short story that I missed. But anyways, it's a collection of stories about the different saints in that world. So I have it. I should just get to it at some point. I also need to continue on the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. So I read The Cruel Prince, fell in love with it, of course. I reread it recently, and so I need to continue on. This is a YA fantasy with fairies. So book 2 is The Wicked King. Book 3 is The Queen of Nothing, and I need to get to it. The Well Met series. I read Well Met and loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I did kind of reread it not that long ago, and it was pretty good on reread, so I do want to continue on. There is Well Played to get to, and I do own it, so I have it physically. And the third one is Well Matched, and then finally Well Traveled, which it looks like it might be out already. So I have a few books to get to. That's a contemporary romance series following different couples, and it's at a Renaissance fair. So I'll be getting to that hopefully. I have the Conspiracy of Us series, which is kind of like a Da Vinci Code series for young adult, and book 1 was so much fun. There was a lot of like action scenes and conspiracies, and they're like going through museums and uncovering clues and things like that. It reminded me a lot of the Inheritance games, to be honest. So if you like that series, you should check this one out as well. And it's a love triangle, I love action, and so it was kind of just like a wild ride, and I was just here for it. So book 2 is Map of Fates, and book 3 is The End of the World, so it would be really cool to just finish the series. I also have the Medeiros Family Saga, which is a series of older Harlequins written by Brenda Jackson, and they're all standalones, but I would like to read them all if I could. I read the first 3 and really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all 3 of them. I've given her books mostly 4 stars, so it's a really like solid read. There's so many books, there's 22 books in here, and I do also want to get to her Westmoreland series as well. And these are just like stories about this like black love stories, which is awesome, and I love reading them. They're just all contemporaries, Harlequins, just a really nice time, and some like cowboy stuff too, so that's really cool. I have the Blood of Eden series. The first book is an Eternity Cure, and it's a vampire fantasy. It's like, I guess, kind of paranormal, but I consider it more of a fantasy slant, and I love it. It's kind of dystopian. And book 2 is the Eternity Cure. Book 3 is the Forever Song, and so I love it. It's Tula Kagagwa. I love her books, and I think this is even better than her Iron Face series. So I do want to continue on with that. I also have the Wallflower series. I read book 1 and didn't quite finish it. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up again to finish. I probably should, but I felt like once the couple were together, I was kind of like, okay, I've read the book. But I want to continue because I love the setup of these 4 girls kind of working together to help each other find a husband. And so book 2 is It Happened One Autumn. 3 is Devil in the Winter. 4 is Scandal in Spring. And then there's, again, The Magic, which is like a prequel, I think, and then there's a Wallflower Christmas. And I decided to focus on Wallflowers first before moving on to the Revenants because I know the 2 series converge at some point. It's all written by Lisa Kleypas. And yeah, so I'm excited to continue on with that. There's lots of books to get to in that kind of 2 series. I also have Dare to Love a Duke, which is part of the London Underground series. I read book 1 and 2. I loved 1. Book 2 was like, okay, I gave it 3 stars. So even though I gave it 3 stars, I still like enjoyed it, but I've been hesitant to read the 3rd one. I just like the concept just like hasn't quite gripped me yet, so I need to get to it. And then I have a Joanna Lindsay here. I have Defy Not the Heart. It's part of the Shepard's Night series. I read book 2. I think they're totally separate. Like they're not really, they may be part of the same part of the country or something. Book 2 I gave 3 stars, so I'm not sure, but I'm probably going to read everything that Joanna Lindsay has written at some point, maybe, I don't know, but but I want to get to it at some point. The Dimple and Rishi series. I read When Dimple Met Rishi forever ago, several years ago, and I've been meaning to continue. I have From Twinkle with Love, which according to Goodreads isn't part of the series, but in my mind kind of is, so I own that physically, and I would like to get to There's Something About Sweetie and 10 Things I Hate About Pinky, so I do want to get to those at some point. Vow of Thieves, which is part of the Dance of Thieves series, I really loved book 1, and so, but the book ended. Like, I didn't feel like there was any cliffhangers in it or anything, so I haven't been like jumping to read it, and I could almost live without it, but I own it, so I'd like, you know, I'm adding it to the jar. If I pick it out of the jar, then I'll probably read it. Percy Jackson. I read book 1 and was like pleasantly surprised with how much I loved it. So I do want to continue on. So there is The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. So that'd be super cool. And then I can watch the second movie. I know the first movie wasn't like great or anything, but I think it would still be fun to watch the movie, because why not? It will get me excited for the TV show too. I have to remember that's coming out as well at some point. I have the Bookish Boyfriend series. So I've read the first 3 books and fell in love with them. They're like YA contemporary romances that are retellings of classics. And so the 4th one is a male-male romance, and it's like a Sherlock Holmes retelling. So I'm really excited about that, and it's with characters that have been introduced throughout the series. So I've been putting that one off for a really long time, so I need to get to it. I have the Cage series, and I read book 1, I gave it 3 stars, and it's this like dystopian sci-fi where these teens from Earth get stolen by aliens and put into like an interesting environment, and they kind of have to survive, and they're hoping to escape. And I wasn't crazy about the direction that the first book went in, but I was just too curious about the environments of book 2 that I'm like, I'm curious, because it kind of had like Lord of the Flies feel, and got like super dramatic and like crazy and mysterious, and I had problems with book 1, but I'm just too curious about where they're gonna put these teens, so I just want to try it, and if I don't end up liking it, then that's okay. And then I have Concrete Rose. I need to get to it. I loved The Hate U Give. I feel like hard-hitting topics really is hard for me to pick up, so It's a good thing that I'm adding it to the TBR jar so I can just read this, and I did really like Maverick. I thought he was a really interesting character in The Hate You Give, and it would be really cool to read his story. And I think, yep, that's it. So those are all the sequels that are in my TBR jar. And so I think I have all my books around. I have so many books everywhere. I need to like clean them up. But here we go. I'm going to pick my first, and I'm going to base my picks on page count. So we'll talk it through. But the first one is The Wallflowers. Oh my gosh. I don't think I own book 2. This is the problem. I may have to like scrounge up the books in order to read them. But oh my goodness. I keep on thinking I'm just going to pick Brennan Jackson the whole time, so I'm kind of like pleasantly surprised that I picked something a little bit surprising. Okay, book 2, It Happened One Autumn. I don't think I own it. No, I don't own it, so I'm gonna have to find a way to get it, but I'm excited. Okay, and let's take a look at how many pages it is, because if it's too long, so it's 382 pages, so we're gonna pick another one. The Conspiracy of Us. I actually own that. I know where it is. The Map of Fates. Oh my goodness. Or just Map of Fates. Okay. See how long it is. It's just 306 or 7 pages. So we're gonna pick one more. Last vlog I had like 3 600-page books, and I'm just not doing that again. Like, that was a mistake. So I'm being careful with the page count. Okay. Madeiras Family. Here we go. And so luckily I actually just own that on Kindle. I will be reading the next one. Oh, I'm kind of excited. I really needed some like fresh insight in my reading, because the last few books have been like, they've been a struggle. It's been like causing me reading slumps, so I'm really excited to read some books I'm actually excited about, so that's great. So let's get to reading. So I have a jar that's going to be my TBR jar, and then I've written some of the titles down that I'm going to cut up and put in this jar. So I am going to cut up these slips. It's not, like, it's long enough. Like, there's about 2 pages, a little bit less than 2 pages of this stuff. And I am in the middle of 19 series, so it's actually a lot. But if I work on it every month, then I'll get through these series, right? Let's make this and put it in my jar. So I want to show you the mess. My stuff is so messy, and I made a stupid decision about organizing my books. I thought I would like put the first book in a series or the next book on this shelf here, the left one, and then like all the rest on that side, and it's just like not working. I don't know what I was thinking. That was the worst decision I've ever made. And then I have books here that I need to unload, and then I have all those from that book haul thumbnail that I did. So I was realizing that I just really need to organize my bookshelf. So I think I'm going to do that before I read anything, because I just, like, I feel so scattered and it would be nice to just have clean bookshelves. So I'm going to do that right now. The left bookshelf is all my fantasy, and I put the series together and it makes me feel so much better. This is kind of like my normal setup, is fantasy on the left, and then I do have all my contemporaries and historical romance on the right, and then the bottom I have more fantasy because I didn't have enough, but I have all my YA, and so my YA contemporaries and my romance are kind of mixed up. And I have stacks of historical there, historical stack there, I have another historical stack there. And then I have some contemporary romance, Harlequin. I have some historical at the bottom there because they were the bigger historical mass markets. And then I have my J.D. Robb in-depth series collection there, and a little bit of overflow of fantasy there. And that is my fantasy YA contemporary. I have like romance too, but they're like my fantasy paranormal romances are there. So that is the setup. I feel so much better about that now. So I'm glad I did that. Now I can focus and read. Good news. Hoopla has It Happened One Autumn. Yeah. They have it as an ebook and as an audiobook. So I have some choices. I'm just so thankful because I didn't think they had it. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to read first. I feel like I'm in a physically reading mood. I wouldn't mind doing that right now, so I just haven't decided what I'm going to physically read yet. I think I'm leaning towards Map of Fates. I read the back, and I think it's enough to help me remember everything, because I was worried. I'm like, am I going to remember anything at all? I think they're going to introduce it again for me, which is helpful. I need that because it wasn't that long ago, but I read it so fast. So in this one, follow Avery, and she finds out that she is an heiress of the circle. Like, she's related to someone, like, kind of a bastard. I hate using that word, but, like, she wasn't supposed to be born, and so her mom has always been on the run, and she's related to someone in the circle who is, the idea is the circle is these group of people who are ruling the world, like big, powerful people or families, and they base their lives off of a conspiracy or a prophecy, and the prophecy is from like Alexander the Great or something like that. Like, it's from like way in the past, and they live their lives based on it. And so the idea is the story is called The Conspiracy of Us, the idea is all the conspiracies are actually true. And so there's these two boys that are kind of like bodyguards for the circle, and they work for these powerful families, and she gets swept up with the both of them. She kind of falls for one, but there's this other boy who's intriguing, and the conspiracy or a new prophecy involves her. And so it was left on the cliffhanger. I shouldn't say anymore, but it was a lot of fun. There was like action scenes. There's people like chasing them and shooting them down, and they had to go through museums to like uncover mysteries from like ancient artifacts, and it was just like fun. Like, you can't like take it too seriously. You should just like be there for the fun ride. And the romance was so good. Like, I was like eating it up. So I definitely recommend the series, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And since it's like very dramatic and silly and things like that, I was like here for the love triangle, curious to see where it's gonna go. So I think I'm leaning towards this. So I have been listening to It Happened One Summer. I've been mostly focusing on this, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really good. This is the second book in the Wallflower series. I'm learning that every once in a while it's just nice to listen to an audiobook. It's just like a nice change of pace, and I can see how people can read more, because transitioning from an audiobook and physically reading is easier, I think, and you can like putter around and do stuff. So I'm seeing the appeal now. I should have known this for a long time, but anyways, this one we're following Lillian, and she is one of the Bowman sisters, and her sister are American, and her family came over from America in order for her and her sister to find a husband. So this is Lillian's book, and it's with Marcus, who he's, I think, a Viscount, and she and her family are staying with him for like a month, and them and other guests, and I forget why, but like I think he's hosting like events and activities and things like that. So, but they've had rough encounters in the previous books, and they kind of really butt heads. So it's very much kind of like a hate to love romance, more like irritation to love, I would argue. Yeah, it's their story. So she is staying there, and they're having some like interactions. So she and her sister are very mischievous and get into trouble, and Lillian's very brash and speaks her mind, and Marcus is really straight-laced and things like that. So it's very much that kind of dynamic. Her and her sister love grounders, I think that's what they called it, and it sounds like basically a form of baseball, and they stumble upon the servants playing it one time, and so they convince the servants to let them play, and Marcus stumbles upon them, but instead of like getting all frustrated about it, he actually helps Lillian get better at her swing, and they do have a little private moment in the garden, and you know, Marcus just can't seem to, the attraction that he feels towards her, it just comes on suddenly, and it's really confusing for him. And so that is their story. So this is the Wallflower series, and the concept is there's these 4 wallflowers, meaning they can't find a husband. No one seems to want to ask them for a dance. They're always sitting on the sidelines of the balls. And so they form a friendship and decide to help each other find a husband. And this is Lillian's story. It's book 2. She's the second oldest. And so they're doing it by age. And I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. I like seeing the wallflowers. There's some like nice moments with the girls. There's this concept as well where Lillian bought this perfume, and they think it's a magic perfume, and they're wondering, is it the perfume that is making Marcus all crazy, or is it just Lillian herself? And so there's, I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm 40 and the intriguing shadow of it. I'm 40% of the way through. I thought I said 44 before, but I'm 40% of the way through. I don't know if I will finish it today or not, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm gonna keep listening now. I'm just gonna relax and listen, and maybe do some puttering around. Yeah, that's what's happening. Okay, so I am going shopping and such, so I am going to go to the store, but I thought since I'm going to the dollar store in Walmart, I'm going to just look at books at Goodwill because it's right next door. So I'm going to go to Goodwill and check out some of the items there, and I'm really excited to go, so come with me. Okay, so I did get some books. I didn't get a lot, but I did get some. Two of which, of course, are not on my TBR. So I found two in-depth books that I haven't gotten yet from the in-depth series by J.D. Robb. So I have Survivor in Death and Divided in Death. So I got these two. And then I got two Johanna Lindsay's. This is very racy. Tender is the Storm, and then Hearts Aflame. I don't know, I just couldn't leave these classic covers. This one is a little damaged, like it's ripped there. These are very short. They're not very long. They're just like 250 pages. And I like how the scene like goes all the way around. I don't know if you can see that. This one's also short, 250 pages, so I couldn't leave them. They looked so cool. So, but this cover is definitely cover up, man. Okay, so I have to hide that from my kids somewhere. That is my quick haul. I did get some clothes. I bought 4 dresses. This I'm gonna consider like my peasant dress because it's very simple. And plain looking, but I'm kind of really into it. It's kind of like a purpley brown. Then I have some summer dresses that I really needed. I got this, I like really long dresses, so this is like a spaghetti strapped dress, very small bust, which I'm a little bit nervous about, but I might get like a bikini top just to wear underneath and kind of be a summery beach thing. And then I have this dress that I'm loving a lot. It's also very flattering and has like an interesting exposed back, which I really like. And then this is the ugliest dress of the bunch, but I don't know, I have a thing for ugly dresses. I kind of like them. And the way the stripes go obviously is a lot more flattering than across, like they're vertical. And again, it's a spaghetti kind of one, and the straps crisscross at the back, and it's a flattering style for my body type. And so I needed some summer stuff. I know the peasant dress isn't a summery dress, but I needed some. I was running out. I don't have any, so these were all half off. I was too intrigued. Yeah, I'm really excited for these purchases. I need to stop buying clothes for a little while, but books I will never stop buying. Never ever. morning. I feel like I have a lot to update because I do. So I finished It Happened One Autumn. Yeah, that's what it's called, by Lisa Kleypas. So this is book 2 in the Wallflower series. And I liked it. I really did. I listened to it entirely on audiobook, and that worked really well for me. I really liked it, but I've been noticing with these novels is that once they get together, there's like a good section still like after. It's like an 8-hour audiobook, and once I got to like the 6-hour point, they were pretty much together, and I was kind of like done. But I really pushed myself through listening till the end. And there was kind of like a suspense plot at the end. And I don't know, I didn't really like it because I'm just like, why is this happening? Like, I don't get it. They're together. Why do we need this additional suspense plot? There's like a kidnapping. It was just like kind of insane. Oh, and I forgot to say, she had a bit of competition. There was like a little bit of a love triangle. Not really. But I did like the other guy. So, which was kind of fun. And we get his book next, which I'm actually really excited for. There was an epilogue, but it wasn't like a traditional romantic epilogue. It was setting up the next book, and it got me excited for the next book. I am really intrigued. I think I'm gonna like that one more than these other two. Book 1, I think I mentioned already, I didn't end up finishing, and it was the same thing where once the couple were together, I was kind of like done with the story. And based on what I heard in this book, It Happened One Autumn, it sounded like there was a suspense plot at the ending for book 1 as well. So I'm kind of wondering if there's a bit of a theme here, if she likes throwing a little bit of suspense at the end. I don't know. I just thought it was unnecessary. I'm like, if you're thinking about these kind of suspense plots, why not just incorporate that in the main story? But I'm giving this one 4 stars. I gave book 1 4 stars. So it's still solid and I still enjoy it, but I feel like there's like something missing and I'm just not quite sure what it is. Last night I picked up A Map of Fates, which is book 2 in The Conspiracy of Us. I wasn't sure how I was feeling. I read about like 80 pages last night and it was like boring and I was like not caring about these characters at all. I kept on forgetting while I was reading that her mother is kidnapped. They do kind of explain things pretty well. Like, I don't remember everything, but I remember enough to just keep on going. But her mother was kidnapped by the Order, which is this organization that opposes the Circle, and they've been killing people in the Circle because they're trying to stop this mandate. And part of the mandate is for Avery to marry someone, basically. There's a bit of a arranged marriage plot in here, and she goes to her family, who is part of the Circle, and they convince her to go on this tour to meet different people to possibly marry her. So she meets different families and their sons and potential husbands for her, basically. In the meantime, she and Jack and Stalin are still looking for clues. The last book, there was a promise to bring back the love triangle. There wasn't really a love triangle in book 1, but it kind of set it up to think that a love triangle will develop in this book, and nothing's really happened. I feel like the romance is on the back burner because there's no time to develop it really, and in a lot of ways doesn't make sense because she potentially has to marry someone who isn't the love interest. And so there's this kind of like question of like what's going to happen with her. They're still looking for clues. It's starting to amp up a little bit because they are uncovering some clues, but not many. But there has been a little bit more action. There's been like some assassinations and things like that. So I'm a little bit more intrigued, but I was like questioning whether to read it at all. I thought about maybe putting it down and just picking up the next book. But I'm a little bit more intrigued. I read about only like 20 more pages when I went to get coffee, and I'm a little bit more intrigued. I want to give it a little bit more chance. I want this love triangle to go somewhere because, I don't know, I just want the drama. I'm here, I guess, more for the romance. Book 1 was a lot more fun, like, and for this, I'm feeling like it's not fun. I don't know, I just am not enjoying it. I want some more twists, I want some more action, I want more car chases, I want more romance, and everything just feels like here, and Avery is a little bit confused. There is this like deadline of to save her mom, but I don't quite feel the urgency, so I wish there was more urgency. And it's funny because they travel around the world, but like they're just like, oh yeah, we're here now. Oh, here we are in London. And then the next chapter, oh, here we are in Venice. And it's just like, it's like, it's not really that realistic of how fast they travel because so much time would be taken traveling, but I just forgive it because it's fun. But sadly, this isn't fun. It's like sitting at a 3 right now. So I'm hoping things will pick up a little bit, but I'm going to read a little bit more, but if it doesn't pick up, I might put it down. So I finished Map of Fates. It was okay. I think, like I said before, I thought about DNFing this one because it was kind of boring, and it was mostly boring, but there was still something that kind of kept me going. I wanted to keep trying because at the end of book 1, we were kind of promised a love triangle, and it definitely developed in here. And so I think that's why I picked it up. I was like, let's see if anything actually happens. And once things started happening, I was a little bit more intrigued. I did enjoy the romance. Like, it was okay. Like, it wasn't like amazing or anything. But I think what I realized was the plot wasn't as good in this one as it was in book 1. There was like some action, but not a lot. In book 1, there's a lot of like car chases, and they were kind of like on the run a lot, and they were sneaking around and looking for clues. And the sneaking around didn't happen as much, and I didn't feel the urgency like I did in book 1. There weren't like people deliberately chasing them like they were in book 1 in this one. And the sneaking around was kind of like boring. They would like sneak into a museum and just kind of look around, and that'd be it. And then the clues, there weren't like, they were looking for something, but they weren't, a lot of the clues were just like inscriptions, and then they kind of had to puzzle together what the inscriptions meant. And there was, like I said, there was some action stuff which kind of like spiced it up a little bit. There were like a couple twists in here. I kind of predicted both, but the first twist went further than I thought, which I liked. And then the second twist didn't quite go as far as I thought it was going to. Obviously, I was engaged enough to read the whole thing. Like I said, I liked the romance, but I think the other thing I realized was the characters are kind of bland. And so, since the characters were bland, since the plot wasn't as strong, I think that's why I was bored. Where book 1, the plot was ongoing, really fast-paced, was really surprising, and so the plot made up for the lack or the blandness of the characters. The most interesting character is probably Stellan because he has more of a backstory, and so it kind of makes him a more interesting character, but that's it. Our main character is very bland. There's like, she has no character. She is pretty basic. And then Jack, he's kind of like the button-up, always does what's right kind of guy. And I'm sure we got more of his backstory in book 1, I just don't remember it very well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of left like, I don't want to continue. I don't really care. Like I said, I don't care about these characters, and I kind of like don't care about the scavenger hunt kind of stuff. I guess there was like another reveal, and I don't really care for it either. I'm giving this 3 stars. At first I thought maybe it'd be like 3.5, but now I think having finished it and seeing the ending and the direction of the possibility of book 3, and since I don't care to continue really, it's a 3-star, that's for sure. Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. I'm glad I finished it though. I was like this close of like not finishing it because I was just like, oh my goodness, this is dragging on. Since book 2 was 3 stars, this is the book 3, The Ends of the World, and I think I'm not gonna read it. I think I am gonna just like be done with this series, which is funny because I gave book 1 5 stars. But that was mostly because it was surprising and it was just like a lot of fun, and I read almost like an action movie, where book 2 was kind of boring. I think I might be done with the series. I'm gonna sit on it a little bit longer, but I think that's where I'm leaning towards. Since having read that and had that experience, it got me thinking about the Cage series by Shepard. So I read the Cage and it was like 3 stars. It's not the same story, but it gives me a lot of the same feelings because of when it was written. So The Conspiracy of Us was written 2015 and The Cage was written 2015, the same year. So it has the same kind of feels, like the YA adventure. This is a sci-fi where there's some teens that get captured and placed in a space station, and the space station itself reflects the human world a little bit. Like they're in captivity basically, and I gave it 3 stars, and I did think about continuing, and even now I'm kind of like, do I want to not read it? I think I won't. Like I have a feeling I won't like it, so I'm tempted to put this series, The Conspiracy of Us, tentatively on my unhaul pile. Okay, so I started the Harlequin. Can I even remember what it's called? Eternally Yours. So I started this and I'm really liking it. It's really good. I feel like with Brenda Jackson's Harlequins, they're just like, I don't want to say safe, but like, I just know I'm gonna enjoy my time. They're usually about a 4-star read for me. And it's just kind of comforting because you know there's going to be a romance, you know they're going to be together, and they're just like a contemporary story. And in this one we're following Clayton and Sineda, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Sineda, I think. She was the best friend of our first heroine in book 1. They grew up together in the same foster home, so they're almost like sisters. And Clayton is the brother of the hero of book 1. So like the Medeiros family is basically following all the family members and like friends of the family. This is their story, and we were introduced to these characters ever since book 1, and they're both lawyers, and they've kind of had this, they were always friends, but they would debate a lot about different topics, from politics to practicing law and things like that. So they've always had like a very like tense relationship, but I always read it as kind of more lighthearted and in the vein of being fun and lighthearted. Sineda is very opinionated and she always stands her ground, but they've always just been friends. It's never been like anything more. One day Lauren, who's the friend, asks Clayton to check up on Sineda because she just lost a case that meant a lot to her, and he convinces her to go on vacation with him. He was going to take a week off and go to his family's like timeshare or something in Florida, and so they go and things start happening and like sparks start to fly. And honestly, that's basically the romance. Sineda's past comes to the forefront a little bit. Her mother died young when she was 10 years old, and that's why she was in the foster care. And her mom told her before she died that her father would come get her, but he never did. So she's always had kind of complicated feelings around men specifically. And so when she's starting this relationship with Clayton, she's kind of thinking of it more as a fling. Where he, who's actually more the player, is starting to have stronger feelings. So that's kind of the dynamic. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not quite halfway, but almost there. And it's very short, like over 200 pages maybe. It's like 260 pages on my phone for Kindle. So, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm liking it. I'm hoping to finish it either today or tomorrow. I anticipate this being a 4-star. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. So we'll see what happens, but as of right now, I'm really liking it. Hi everyone. This has been an experiment. For one thing, I love this jar. So, It's been many weeks since I filmed anything regarding this vlog, and that's because I really petered off with this last book that I read. I had to look it up. What was this even called? It was called Eternally Yours. I ended up not finishing this book. I just couldn't get through it, and part of it is I got so bored. I really liked the beginning. It was fairly strong. I was intrigued by their relationship. I liked how they went on vacation together and that's where they caught feelings, and then they started having a relationship where they would visit each other's cities and stuff. But then we got to this part where they were at a party and so many characters were brought in that didn't have anything to do with the story, and I was just finding that really tedious and boring, and it just really lost me. It was a lot of like mundane conversations, introducing new characters, and obviously it's with the idea to kind of expand the universe, I guess you can say, or world, in order to start other stories featuring these characters. But it really lost me. I couldn't even tell you what these people's names were, so unfortunately I DNF'd it. I just couldn't stand it anymore, and I'm kind of bummed because this is making me really nervous to read any more books from this author, even though like she has a fairly good track record with me. Her books are generally like a 4-star. I thought her books mostly were like a solid 4, but this is the first one that I couldn't even get through. So yeah, unfortunately I'm DNFing it, and I'm ending this vlog here. Since it's a romance, I still plan to try the next book in the series. It's not really essential for me to read every book in order necessarily, or to know everything that happened in the previous book. I'll just try the next one, and I guess I'll see how I feel. I do plan to try her other series, the Westermorelands saga series, whatever, and I think this was just a miss. So we'll see. But if I get too many misses, I may not continue with these series. And I hate saying this, but I may not hate that because these series are so long. They're like 2 of the longest series on my TBR, so if I get them removed from my TBR, that's probably a good thing, and then I can focus on other books in my TBR. So that's the end of this video. I do plan to continue on in the series. Actually, I've read other books since, and so since I have done that, I'm gonna have to add some more sequels in here, which is kind of fun to think about. I'll keep that a surprise. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'd love to know how you get to sequels. Do you do something similar, or do you just make them a huge priority? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about how to get through your sequels. I'd love to have a conversation with you in the comments. If you have any thoughts and opinions about the books I read, please comment down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you have not done so, you can follow me on Goodreads and Instagram. And you know what? I want you to keep reading. Bye.